Alright, welcome back to another episode of StichMethod. Make sure, if you enjoy this, you share and subscribe. With that being said, today we're going to talk about Trey Anastasio's Mixolydian approach over the jam for Prince Caspian. He does some really unique things here to make this a Mixolydian jam. We're going to talk about that in a second, but I want to mention, if you're watching this, you might be a Phish fan. If you are, please check out my friends at HFPod.com. They have some great podcasts discussing behind the scenes of Phish and the Grateful Dead. My favorite one being Undermine. It's on right now. Really cool to listen to the behind the scenes and the development of Phish. If that's your thing, go check them out, of course, after this video. With that being said, let's get down to it. Prince Caspian. When you look at it, it's very deceiving, believe it or not, and we'll get right into it. In StichMethod fashion, we're going to talk about the chord progression first. The song consists of a G to a C, over and over again. And we say to ourselves, okay, G to a C, great. That looks like a 1 to 4 in the key of G. Are there any other chords? Well, there are. There's a part that goes C, G, D, back to G. And right there, light bulbs go off and says, okay, it's a 1, 4, and 5 in the key of G. Prince Caspian, the song with the verse and the lyrics and everything, is in the key of G, G, C, and D. But when the jam comes, Trey Anastasio does something that he does that I mentioned actually in this video right here. If you're interested in the concept, check out this video right here. He mentally switches the song to Mixolydian. Well, how does he do that? Well, in the jam just goes from G to C. And what was a 1 to 4 in the key of G now becomes a 5 to 1 in the key of C. And so in the key of G, we have the chords G, A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor, F sharp diminished. In the key of C, we have C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, and B diminished. And what was the 1 chord to the 4 chord in the key of G, Trey switches. Why does he do that? Well, he loves the sound of Mixolydian soloing. And any 1 to 4 can be viewed as a 5 to 1 depending on the soloing or lead instrument. And it's exactly what Trey Anastasio does. When the jam comes, he switches his mindset over to this 5 to 1. And so what does he do to make it sound more Mixolydian? The first thing he'll usually do is come in with a G major pentatonic. Why? Well, if it was G major or if it was G Mixolydian, they are both major modes or major types of jams, and the G major pentatonic can be played on top of any major jam. There's no modal glue to a pentatonic. They're very open and they're going to fit wherever you want them, depending if you want a major jam or minor jam. So the G major pentatonic we're going to spend a lot of time on this video is going to be a simple one up on the 12th fret, 12, 15, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 15, 12, 15. All right, and so this is our G major pentatonic. I'm going to turn on some distortion here. You're going to also see him, I have to do it, like climbs up the A here, even sometimes the B here. So these notes, they're all fair game in this video as well. He's going to start off really with a strong pentatonic movement, which hasn't established any sort of Mixolydian vibes yet. He just comes in gentle. And I want to say this. I've listened to dozens of Prince Caspians, and none of them are the same. I'm kind of just giving you like the path that I hear a lot of, or if I were to design the Trey solo that made sense for teaching, you can do any of these things I'm going to show you in any order, but let's just say he comes in with the pentatonic. So I'm going to solo with the pentatonic first, just so you can hear it. Trey Anastasio just yet? No, not yet. All right, so let's just talk about another thing he's going to do. He comes in with the pentatonic, and believe it or not, any major pentatonic, any one, really deserves the attention of the major hexatonic. I'm going to link a video right here talking about that. Major pentatonic has 5 notes. The hexatonic is when we bring in the major fourth. Very benign note, really, in major or Mixolydian jams. And we have this right there. Now I want to say he's still in a pentatonic mindset. He's just using this as a little trill, a little tiny like jumping step to create some sort of movement. So what I'm going to do now, before I get to the Mixolydian flavor, is do another solo with the major pentatonic, but use this C right here to kind of like add a little spice to your pentatonic playing. I have to say this again. He's a very, very strong and unique pentatonic player. A lot of his stuff comes from pentatonic, so you always want to think about the pentatonic first and then the additions after it. Trust me on that. Here we go. So there was a tiny example with a tiny flub, and I just want to show you again just a lot of trills on that C, okay? This is the hexatonic. We have not entered Mixolydianville yet, but we are going to right now. What makes G Mixolydian Mixolydian is the F, all right? G major has an F sharp in it, all right? But F is the flat 7 of G Mixolydian. I want to just kind of go over that really quickly. A G major scale again, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. G Mixolydian, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. It's that F that makes a Mixolydian. So when Trey decides to finally go, hey guys, I've shifted the mental space to Mixolydian, he will let you know with the F. Now I have to say this again, he's not seeing the full scale. That's not how he works. He sees the G major pentatonic, he sees the G major hexatonic, really, and he also sees the special Mixolydian note on that F, and he's going to play strong pentatonic outlined phrases with these special notes that appear once in a while. So check this out. There it was. All right. So I guess this video is going to have a lot of flubs in it. I don't know why. I'm just rusty today. All right, and so these lines are built around pentatonic movement, and we're adding in the hexatonic C note for movement around. We're adding in that F for a punch or a flavor of Mixolydian. Now, right here and right there is good enough for you to sit and kind of like really practice. What are you going to practice? Playing pentatonics, putting those special notes in once in a while, and listening to when you feel like you want to bring them in. And if you want to practice with me, check out my Patreon page. I have over 300 practice sessions based on my YouTube videos, and this I'm going to make videos for as well. So check it out if you're interested in getting this stuff deeper into your fingers and bones. With that being said, let us continue. So we can't ignore chord tones. You can't ignore chord tones, and don't worry, we'll come back to that F in a second. But Trey Anastasio has this thing that he has been playing for years, where here is that G-shaped G chord, here's that G-shaped pentatonic. You're going to hear him come right down this arpeggio. That stuff's available in my 2-hour free arpeggio masterclass. All right, so you're going to hear him do all this stuff, like there it was. Again, watch any video of Trey playing past 2009. You're going to see him come right down that arpeggio. All right, so we have the pentatonic. We have the hexatonic we're building on. We have that F, that special note that makes an appearance when you want to make an appearance. You just don't run over it. We're not going to pull, I'm going to say something, it's going to sound offensive. It's not offensive. We're not going to pull Jerry Garcia. Jerry Garcia is really fast. I love Jerry, okay, but he's really fast. And he's going to kind of fly through the scales. That's not what Trey does. Trey has a different style, which is he's going to frame through the pentatonic. and he's going to hit that note kind of once and then continue on the pentatonic. Love you, Jerry. Love you, Trey. Okay, hopefully that made sense. And so the idea is, the chord tones are really, really important, especially those G chord tones, and he's going to land on them. Even though there's a C in there, really we're coming home to that G, and that G is exploited through all these little G arpeggios where he just ends a line. Really on the G arpeggio. So if you're thinking about how to end your little phrases, you probably want to end on a G arpeggio. The next thing he does is he does these, we're going to come back to this F note here. There's something he does, or Trey does, that is so unique to Trey Anastasio's playing that I absolutely love. I can't get enough of it, is he'll hold a note at the beginning of his phrase, and then he'll play it really quickly 1 or 2 times, and then do a flutter of notes into a hold. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, this line like this, that little thing right there, like, all right, he held this note, boom, and then a quick flutter, boom. Really? Don't listen to me ever. All right, into that little arpeggio. There was a hold, quick flutter. There it is, much better, okay? I should have just edited the flub out, but that was it right there. He can do it here. Here's the B I mentioned, like, and then, where he hit the B, which is the major third of a G, and then he climbs up the C, there's the hold, and a little flutter. All right, so let me show that again. I'll kind of point it out. It's a hold and then a flutter around that note. So let's see. Let's see. Get this. There it was. All right, it's a hold, then a flutter, then into some sort of arpeggio kind of pentatonic run. All right, so hopefully you're enjoying this. And again, he's turning this major jam into a Mixolydian just by his mind thought. It's still G to a C. It was always in the key of G, but he's like, hey, I like the sound of Mixolydian. I can see the 5-to-1 in that. I'm going to change it. I'm going to use my soloing to force the Mixolydian sound on top of it, which he does quite well. The last thing he does, and again, not last, all of these things you can do at any time, right? Actually, not the last thing, second to last thing, is these trills. Right? Sorry, turn my volume up. But you'll hear them, just kind of like some of these trills like this, hammering, and kind of just, add a little bit of tension and kind of like butterfly flutterness. So let's see if we can throw one of those in. One of them. You can hear them everywhere, no matter what pentatonics he's choosing, like something to that extent. All right, the last thing, the chord tones. The chord tones up on the anywhere really, very reminiscent of my sugary video, which is going to be located right here, where we're talking about using just these 3 strings and kind of playing a G chord like this to a C chord like this, or a G chord like this to a C chord like this, G chord like this, or a C, or a G, C, definitely hits this G up here, I've seen it on many a video. And so you'll sit and hear him sometimes in the solo, like, right when it begins, just kind of being like, something like that, all right? And so he'll throw them at the end, he'll throw them in the beginning. And so let's recap here. Hopefully you're enjoying this, and it just gives you a little bit of insight into Trey's mindset. He's really, it's all pentatonics with the added modal notes. He's not thinking of like the complete scale. He's thinking of his pentatonic lines and adding flavors between the C note here, which is the hexatonic for movement, the F, which is the Mixolydian, those chord tones, the trills, even the chord chunks inversions or partials, as I just learned Rob Eaton calls them. And so hopefully you enjoyed this, but again, load up a backing track, play, layer, and use these ideas in different ways. And if you want to do these ideas all over the guitar neck, like I mentioned, check me out on Patreon. I'll have all the practice sessions in different places. We'll be getting the idea down. I'll stop talking. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you on another episode of StichMethod. Bye-bye.